This holiday, give the gift that says, let's cancel plans and just lounge. MeUndies has dropped a new holiday collection, and it's made for maximum cozy. We're talking soft as snow ultramodal fabric, festive prints, and loungewear so comfy your couch might get jealous. Onesies, hoodies, joggers, even delightfully quirky holiday designs. You're welcome. Knock out all your holiday gifting needs with deals up to 60% off at MeUndies.com/comfort. Enter promo code COMFORT. That's MeUndies.com/comfort, code COMFORT.
Since 2011, American Giant has been making everyday clothing with extraordinary effort. Not in far-off factories, but right here in the USA. We obsess over fabrics, fit, and details, because if you're going to wear it every day, it should feel great and last for years. From the cut of a hoodie to the finishing of a seam, nothing is overlooked. Our supply chain is tight-knit and local, which means less crisscrossing the country and more care in every step. The result is durable clothing, t-shirts, hoodies, sweatpants, and denim that become part of your life season after season. This isn't fast fashion, it's clothing made with purpose by people who care as much about how it's made as how it fits. Get 20% off your first order with code STAPLE20 at American-Giant.com. That's 20% off your first order at American-Giant.com with code STAPLE20.
As a small business owner, have you ever felt overwhelmed by the pressure of choosing the right hire or leading a team? Or have you ever found yourself tolerating a bad hire because you fear trying and failing again as you repeat the hiring process? If so, you're not alone, and you are in the right place. Welcome to the Growing Your Team podcast. The Growing Your Team podcast teaches business owners like you to expand your unique business by teaching you to master the hiring and team management process. Hiring and managing a team does not have to be a challenge. You just have to learn to do it right. And the Growing Your Team podcast teaches you how to become a confident leader who hires right every single time. Now, let's jump into the show where each episode you will learn tips on how to identify what type of help you need on your team, how to source amazing candidates, how to conduct interviews that lead you to your ideal team member, how to onboard successfully, and how to lead every person in your business so you have a team of rock stars who you are happy to pay every single paycheck. So let's jump in and teach you how to hire like a pro. Hello, Jamie Van Kuyk here, and welcome back to the Growing Your Team podcast. Today, I want to talk about one of the parts of the hiring process that I think causes some of the most anxiety in small business owners, but that they don't realize is going to potentially happen until it happens. So we know that there's a lot of parts of the hiring process, interviews, even sourcing candidates, things like that, that are going to cause some stress. And we know that, and a lot of times we prepare for it. We make sure that we know what to do, when to do it, and everything. But then there's a part of the hiring process that I think often gets overlooked until the candidate throws you for a loop and you're like, what should I do now? And we don't know what to do if we don't prepare for it. And we can actually do things that harm us in the long run if we don't prepare properly for this part of the process. And that part of the process is the negotiation part of extending an offer. So if you read anything about get ahead in your career, how to make more money, and anything like that, one of the things it always advises people to do is to negotiate, make a counter offer when they get presented a job offer. It's especially one of the things that people try to train women a lot to do, because a lot of men will naturally negotiate, while a lot of women will be more hesitant or think, I just got to take what they're going to give us. So there's a lot of training around there about how to negotiate and why you should negotiate and everything. So if people are getting the training on how to negotiate and the encouragement to negotiate, as business owners who are hiring, we also need to be prepared for these conversations. So I'm going to give you a few quick tips on how to best prepare for these conversations. The first thing I'm going to tell you is, no, you do not need to negotiate. You can be firm on your offer and say, it is what it is. A little bit nicer than that, but you get the sense of, nope, this offer that we're putting out is the best we can do. You can take it or leave it. Once again, we can work on the phrasing of that, but you don't have to negotiate. You don't have to give someone more than what you initially presented. So just remember that. Negotiating is up to you. It's not necessarily just led by the candidate. So that's the first thing. What you go out the door with to a candidate can be your final offer. But let's say we have a little bit of wiggle room. Or we don't know yet if we have a little bit of wiggle room. What do we do? And so the number one thing I tell my clients to do before they go and present an offer is prepare for a possible negotiation. And how we prepare is we determine, first off, what it is that we are going to offer this candidate. And we also know why we're going to offer the candidate this salary range or the salary point within the range. So a lot of times when we post a job, we are posting a salary range. The hourly pay is between X and Y. The yearly salary is between X and Y. And we then decide where the candidate should be within that range that we put out there. And we should be very clear in our minds, okay, if we have a $5,000 range, what makes someone at the bottom of that $5,000 range versus the top of that $5,000 range? Because if we're going to offer anybody the exact same rate, then we probably shouldn't put a range out there. We should probably just put the pay is X. But okay, so we put a range. We should know bottom range, top of the range, where this person falls. So let's say we're just going to use the number. The pay we're going to give them is $50,000. We had a range that went from 47 to 53. That's probably a big range for that actually salary. Where you are in the yearly salary range, $6,000 is a big range when you're only paying $5,000 a year. But we're just going to use these numbers right there, right now. $50,000 is what you're going to go out the door with. You decided $50,000 because they're not very seasoned in this role, but they're also not but the lowest of what is acceptable in this role. So they're right smack dab in the middle. So you feel comfortable with that $50,000. You put a range that went up to 53 because that's the top of your budget, or the top of what we determined was the researched range of where it should be, and it falls within your budget. So then we're going to look at it. Okay, we're going to offer them 50 because that's what we feel that they are worth based on the skills that they presented during the interview. And then, so once we know that this is what we feel like they're worth, the next question is there any wiggle room in that if they negotiate? What is the ceiling that you would offer this candidate? And sometimes that ceiling is going to be $50,000. We are offering them the top of what we feel this candidate is worth. There is no room for negotiation. That if this candidate is not willing to accept $50,000, we will say goodbye before we are willing to go anywhere above $50,000. There then might be a different candidate, or in this scenario, the same candidate, but we're looking from a different perspective. Okay, we're going to offer $50,000. We really wholeheartedly believe this candidate is worth $50,000, and that should be the top of what we're going to offer. But at the same time, we're not willing to lose this person. So if they come back and negotiate, we're willing to give this person more than they're worth in order to keep them. Okay, so what is that? What is that more? What is that more that you're willing to go over what you think they're worth in order for them to say yes to coming to work for you. So we might look at it and say, all right, our max is $51,000. So we're willing to give an extra $1,000 if they say yes to coming to work for us, if they ask for it. It's more than we think they're worth, but that extra $1,000 means we're going to have them on the team. So we are willing to give that extra $1,000 if they ask for it. So we're going to negotiate with $1,000. Doesn't mean we have to go straight in with the full $1,000 if they start negotiating, but we know that that is our max. That is our new ceiling. So if they say no to 50 because they want more money, 51 is now the max that we're going to go. So if they come back and ask for 53, we're not going to just jump to 53 and say, okay, we have already thought about it. We already know what the max is for this person. So if the candidate refuses to come down to 51 with their counteroffer, we know that we're going to say no. One of the things I think is important here is when we go and we prepare for these negotiations, I am not saying go and lowball a candidate and then have your true number in mind of where you would like to pay this candidate. So that way when they negotiate, you're really ending up with where you wanted to pay them anyway. No. That first offer should be what you think that person is worth to come work for you. And it should be based on the skills and everything that they have. It should not be based on what they've made at their last job or things like that. It's based on when you set this range, if you were able to say first, like what should be at the bottom, middle, top of the range, that you are appropriately placing them based on the skills that you have identified during that hiring process. So once again, we are not thinking in our head of this person is worth 53, but I'm going to make him an offer of 50. So that way, maybe I can save some money. Negotiating isn't about saving money. It's about being willing to give a little bit more if it means it's the only way this candidate will say yes. Okay, so we know what our max is for a candidate. Now we go and present the offer to the candidate. We tell them we're happy to have them on the team. We go through all the details and we tell them the pay range of $50,000 a year. If they accept, great. If they come back to negotiate, you have already made up your mind of what the max is. The reason why that is super important is I've seen people go above and beyond what their max. And not just what this person is worth, but what they can afford for the position. And maybe it's because they actually feel like this person is worth more than what they have budgeted for the position. But that puts them kind of at a deficit from the start. They're paying more than what they have budgeted for a position. And just because the candidate's worth that doesn't mean your position on your team is worth that. So when you've already determined the level and availability of funds for negotiations, you have done your due diligence to know that whatever you walk away with at the end of that conversation fits your budget, is not going to put you in financial strain to pay that team member. You're not being influenced by a candidate to pay more than you should be paying because you've already determined what they're worth, and then the max you'll go with wiggle room where it's a little bit above their worth, but it's in your budget and you're willing to do it for them to say yes. One of the tips that you can do or not do when it comes to presenting the negotiation is you can either do it right there on the phone where you present them a counter offer if they counter you right there on the phone, or you can say, okay, let me think about it. You asked for 52, we offered you 50. Let me see what we can do. You can get off the phone, pretend that you're spending some time thinking about it, and then calling them back. Sometimes that comes over really well is when you have that ability to disconnect and then reconnect with the candidate because it shows that you're thinking about it and not that you necessarily have already made up your mind. So if you've already made up your mind, they might be sitting there and saying, well, why didn't you just offer me that in the first place if you knew you had it in your budget? So even though we're making sure that We are setting our ceiling before we talk to them, so we can't be talked into doing more than it's comfortable for us. Sometimes we want to make sure that they think that we're thinking about it and we didn't already have this number set. So it's just sometimes that psychological thing of it is let them think that we're contemplating it and that we really thought about it and we're coming back saying this is the max we can do based on our budget versus I just want to play hardball. But it's not wrong to have that conversation right there on the phone and say, okay, well, you wanted 52. I know in our budget that we cannot do 52 based on the skills that you are bringing in. I know the range said 53, but some of the things that we are looking for that top candidate is XYZ. You don't have those skills yet, so they're things that you'll be learning here on the job. So the best we can do is 51. So that is my tip on negotiating salary. Know your max before you ever get on the phone and present an offer to a candidate. You don't want to be talked into paying something above what you can afford just because a candidate asks for it and you're afraid to lose them. So make your decision on what that money would look like, what that max looks like before you know whether a candidate's going to accept your initial offer. And make sure your initial offer is fair based on where they fall within the range. Once again, do not try to lowball candidates. Do not base it based off of what they were making before. Their salary should really be based off of what skills they're bringing to the table based on what you were looking for that position. If a range, you know what is the lowest part of the range, what means the middle part of the range, and what means the top part of the range with skills. So you got this. I know it can sometimes be scary to have those conversations, especially if you're not used to it. If your negotiating is not your thing, but when you go in and you are prepared, it can really take a lot of nerves out of that. And you know what to say and you know to stand your ground. So that way you have a team member that can make you profitable versus getting talked into a salary range or an hourly pay range that is going to be tight on your bank account every pay period. So you got this. Prepare and negotiate and welcome on your new team member. And that wraps up this episode of the Growing Your Team podcast. But before we go, are you ready to gain the confidence to hire like a pro, but need to find a way to do so that fits your limited time and doesn't stretch your budget beyond its capacity? Let's face it, hiring has a lot of complexities. And if you don't know what you're doing at each step, you increase your chances of hiring the wrong person and then having to spend both time and money to rehire. So it's something that you want to do well the first time. But if you're like many small businesses that are hiring their very first contractors and employees, you most likely don't have thousands of dollars to spend on high-level hiring consultant services or full-service recruiting. But you still need help. You still need guidance. You still need the support to hire well. That is exactly what the Micro Hiring Consulting Program is for. This is a consulting program designed to support you through the process of hiring and onboarding contractors and part-time and full-time employees in a manner that fits your schedule and your budget. It's a month-to-month consulting program that gives you access to one-on-one calls, office hours, live training, and unlimited email support so you have expert eyes on every job post, interview question, onboarding plan, or anything that you create so that way you know it will work for you and be successful in the process of finding your ideal candidate. To learn more about this consulting opportunity and how you can get hiring support that fits your time and your budget, head on over to growingyourteam.com/micro. Once again, go to growingyourteam.com/micro to learn more about this consulting program that's going to help guide you to successful hires every time.